Hello, this is my interview reflection assignment where I interviewed a local professional in the field of psychology. The individual I interviewed was a military family life counselor by the name of Penny Collins. She got an MS degree in counseling, and her job duties consist of counseling active duty service members and their dependents. The thing she said she found fulfilling about the job is that she knows she is helping people, whether it is seen or unseen. A big portion she mentioned was that it's not every single time that somebody will come back to her and tell her how much their sessions have helped them, because sometimes they just stop showing up for sessions. But in the times that they do come back, it reminds her how impactful the sessions she's performing are. The thing she finds challenging about the industry, she made sure to point out that this matters less in the current field of being a military family life counselor, but in her private practice and before she got the job as an MFLEC, she really did not like the accounting part of it. Working with insurance, note taking, and treatment planning. She much more valued the face to face interactions with people and much less the behind the scenes working. The things she mentioned about continuing professional growth in the field were obviously keeping up with her continuing education units, CEUs. So she does keep up with her national certification, which she said was about 100 hours a year. And she mentioned that here in Arizona, part of the Arizona Board of Psychologists, you can keep up on the credits by attending board meetings. Just sitting in on board meetings can fulfill about half of your yearly requirements for continuing education. She did also want to mention that a thing she's looking to move on to next is in the MFLEC field. She's more of what you would call the foot soldier of the MFLEC world. But she's been one long enough that she feels as though she should move on to a higher level position. She didn't mention the name of it, but it was more of a managerial position where she's looking over the MFLEX in a given area. The recommendations she made for people attempting to get a foothold in the field is diversification of experience. And she expounded on her own breadth of experience throughout her lifetime, whether it was working in hospice care, with children, marriage counseling, any of these various things. Because she has noticed that the field has been tending into more of a specialization rather than a well-rounded type of field as a whole. So getting the breadth early at the beginning will let you know what you want to specialize in and go further in the field rather than be truncated early on. Now, another thing she did want to focus on was, for recommendations, was that a lot of times therapists get stuck in the view that therapy is more of a subscription service where you're simply extracting money from the clients, and none of their problems are really attempting to be solved. We had somewhat of a back and forth on this. Nothing rude, but she did agree that there are some instances where simply speaking with somebody is all that the client might need. The middle ground that we somewhat settled upon was if the merely talking about the problems extends for too many sessions and no actual progress is being made to solving any problems, then that person might just need a friend to talk to rather than paying large sums of money to speak to a therapist. And her grievances with the field were more that a lot of therapists will just take the people who just need someone to talk to and allow them to continue using the therapist as a springboard for just voicing their day-to-day woes as a form of collecting a paycheck. The last recommendation was focusing on discernment. The example we talked about a little bit was an individual with borderline personality disorder. They don't always have the best view of their situations. So if they come to you telling you about how everyone is out to get them in their social circle or something or the other, the discernment to not immediately take their word for the actual events that occurred. Because if somebody with BPD is coming to you and they're saying, oh, everybody hates me, and everybody else agrees that they don't hate the person, but just that they feel that they're hated, you can't really take that as what has actually occurred. These are the things that I learned throughout the interview process. Actually, lastly, I did have an MFLEX. So MFLEX are in every unit. Not only are they in every unit, but they're also embedded in the community, paid for by the military. It's actually a major contracting thing. So one major contractor has the West Coast, one major contractor has the East Coast. Back when I was in Kentucky, obviously their contractor was for the East Coast. And he taught me some things that I brought up in this interview. The things that he taught me were there are MFLEX embedded in schools as well as just in military units. This is so that they can focus more on the dependents. And the thing that Miss Penny Collins brought up to me is that it's not the same training that each MFLEX gets depending on whether they're focused on working with children or service members. There is a kid or adult MFLEX. Now, these aren't actually in their titles, but it is a distinction that they make in their field. With my garrison being so small, this is a very small place. There's actually only 3 green suiters. Green suiters being people who are active duty wearing military uniform, i.e. the green suit. There are only 3 green suiters and most are civilian contractors. So she says that she's actually hybrid and she is trained to work with both adults and children. And this concludes everything that I've learned and discussed with our local MFLEX through this interview process. Thank you for your time.